Hi, I'm Rebecca Amber Clark. Welcome to Part 5 of my tutorial, Directing Your First Voiceover Project. Once you've assembled your cast and gotten everything ready to send out your scripts, it's time for the next step, giving direction.
So, where do you want to meet up today?
How about the library?
Yeah, sounds good. Can you tell me how to get there?
Sure. You should have no trouble finding it. They've got a great reference section. All the librarians are really nice. And they bring in a dog for the kids to have Read to a Dog Day every Thursday at 3 in the afternoon.
Okay. Alright, but can you tell me how to get there?
Of course. It's a big grey building with blue trim. See you there.
Yeah, okay, but... and he's offline. Awesome.
To begin with, describing a character and giving voice direction are two very different things. Knowing your character has blue eyes, freckles, and curly blonde hair can make a nice mental image for a voice actor when recording their lines, but it doesn't tell them how you want those lines delivered. Don't get me wrong. Sending out visual descriptions to people for their roles can be helpful too. It can help a voice actor connect with their role to be able to put a face to a name, so to speak, which in turn can aid the voice performance. But relying too much on visuals in place of voice direction can leave your cast unsure what you're actually looking for in the audio. So, how do you go about giving direction to your cast? The whole thing can seem kind of scary and overwhelming, especially if you're not used to giving instructions to other people. But stop and think for a moment. This script is your brainchild, your baby. You might have worked on it for weeks, months, or even years as you write, rewrite, and make edits. You know your project, and most likely, you already know what you want, even if you don't realize it. Of course, it's one thing to know what you want, and another thing entirely to be able to describe it. If you don't know how, it can feel like grasping at straws. So, to keep yourself on track, I suggest breaking it down into 3 simple categories. 1. Accent and voice type. If you had voice actors record a few lines for the roles in the audition phase, then this has most likely already been taken care of. If you liked the overall voice the actor used in the audition, then all you have to do is tell them so, and you're good to go. But if you want something done differently, or if you cast a role only after hearing a general voice demo reel, you'll need to spell out just what you want. Another thing you might run into is a voice actor who sent you more than one interpretation for their audition. For example, even if you asked for a British accent, a voice actor might send one set of takes in what's known as received pronunciation, the upper-class-sounding accent most Americans are familiar with, and another in a regional Northern English accent. Or a voice actor might audition with 2, 3, or even more totally different-sounding voices. In this case, it's very important to let the voice actor know which voice and accent from their audition or demo you want them to use. Remember, voice actors can't actually read your mind, even if it seems like it from time to time. 2. Emotion and context. Giving context is at least as important when giving direction as it is when sending out scripts, if not more so. Instead of just saying, "she's angry" or "she's upset," try telling your voice actor, "she's furious because she just found out her husband cheated on her, and it's really upset and scared her because they've been together for 20 years and have 2 children together. So not only is she angry about the affair, but her whole life has just been kicked out from under her." 3. Speed and intensity. Are 2 characters in your script having a relaxed conversation, speaking slowly and calmly? Is someone rushing to explain an emergency situation, out of breath and tumbling over their own words as they fight back panic? The individual personality of a character can also affect how fast they talk. Those last 2 categories are optional, but remember, even with a more hands-off approach to directing, you need to make sure your voice actors know the accent and voice type you want them to use for each role. It's not always necessary as a director to walk your cast members through their performance. Many directors just send out a script, a deadline for recording lines, and nothing else. Then, if anything, they'll ask for retakes on any lines they don't like. Especially for a brand new director working with more experienced voice actors, you might prefer to sit back and give your cast free rein, at least for the first set of takes. Think of it like taking horseback riding lessons. A good teacher always puts the newest riders on the oldest, most dependable horses. That way, between horse and rider, at least someone knows what they're doing. On the flip side, a more experienced director can really help out brand new voice actors when it comes to figuring out how to approach their roles. Even more experienced directors will often wait to see what a voice actor does with a role first, before stepping in and interfering too much. Whether you're describing what you want to your cast, or sitting back and leaving it up to their creative process, you need to make sure everyone is on the same page when it comes to pronunciations. For a start, this includes any names or made-up words in your script. Less obvious, but absolutely no less important, are existing words where there's more than one way to say them, like data versus data, and obscure words your cast might not be familiar with. The problem is that a written pronunciation guide might leave your cast more confused than ever. Let's use some names as examples. If English is your native language, chances are you already know how these names should be pronounced, at least in English: Amy, Theodore, and Michael. But if you weren't familiar with these names already, then the pronunciation guides next to them could be read in more than one way. Amy could look like it's pronounced Ame or Ime. Theodore could just as easily be the Ador or Theodore. The pronunciation guide next to Michael doesn't make it clear whether you're supposed to pronounce the first syllable as the word my, as in belonging to me, or if the my means you want a long e sound, Mikul. The C in the second syllable could either mean a hard C or soft C as well, meaning it could be Michael, Mysol, Mikul, or Misol. Given these examples, it's all too easy to see the problem. So instead of a written guide, I'd strongly encourage you to use an audio guide. Ideally, you should record it yourself, so the cast can hear firsthand how you, the director, want everything pronounced. But that's not always an option. Not everyone even has a working microphone, or knows how to record audio. Some people have social anxiety, or are simply shy about speaking into a mic. Or it could be that you simply don't have the time to do it yourself. That's totally fine. In this case, just ask one of your cast members to record the guide for you. Just do your best with a written guide for that one voice actor, and ask for retakes on any mispronounced names or words until the whole thing sounds right. Then you've got your audio guide for the rest of the cast. It's a good idea to let voice actors know how many takes you'd like them to do for each line. When I first started out directing, it never occurred to me to do this, and I got amazingly different results from different voice actors. Some people would send just one take for each line, some would send 3, and a few voice actors have sent me files with over 10 takes for a single line. It's true that the more takes a voice actor sends in for a line, the more options you have to choose from, but it's a double-edged sword, because you also have to spend way more time listening to and choosing between those takes. I know in my case, by the time auditions are over, my brain is fried enough as it is from choosing between voice actors, and the last thing I want to do is spend half an hour deciding which version of a single line to put in my project. 3 takes per line is the most I would suggest asking voice actors for, and whether you want to limit it even further is just up to your own personal preference. It's totally fine to ask voice actors to send in only their one best take for each line on the first go. However many takes you ask for, once your cast sends in their recordings, you need to listen to each and every file to make sure the lines sound the way you want them to, and that there were no technical issues like broken sound files or garbled audio. Don't be afraid to ask voice actors for retakes. If something doesn't sound right to you, you should absolutely let the voice actor know what you want them to do differently, and ask them to do those lines over. This is a completely normal and expected part of voice acting. Obviously, voice actors will try to get everything perfect on the first try, but that isn't always possible. Maybe they had a different idea of the scene than you, or misunderstood the meaning of a line, or maybe they were just having a bad day when recording the lines for your project. If you find yourself asking most or all of your cast to do most or all of their lines over again several times, you might want to step back and ask yourself if you are being too much of a perfectionist. If that situation is happening, but just with one voice actor, you might even have to ask yourself if they aren't the right fit for that role after all. Otherwise, if you're just asking for 1 or 2 sets of changes from some or even all of your cast, this is par for the course. So try not to stress about it or feel guilty for doing your job as a director. It's also important to know how to ask for retakes. When you give feedback on any lines you want changed, don't forget to tell the voice actor what they did right the first time around, too. This is more than just being nice. Telling someone what you liked is just as much a part of getting the sound you want as telling them what you don't like, because it gives a voice actor a direction to head in. For example, if you don't want your slime monster to snort and belch, but you did like the way the voice actor burbled and slurred his words, make sure you tell him so. If you just say, "That was too gross, can you do it again but without snorting and belching?" then he might think you're looking for a totally different interpretation overall, and give you a new set of takes that sounds nothing at all like you're hoping for. Finally, when you ask a voice actor to redo something, it's important to set a new deadline by which you need the new takes. If the voice actor turned in their first try on the lines far enough ahead of the original deadline, you can stick to the same date. If they turned in their lines more last minute, you'll need to allow enough extra time for the voice actor to record those lines again. Whether it's the same as the original deadline, or you're giving the voice actor extra time, make sure you tell the voice actor when you do need those retakes. By now, you know the drill. Spell out the date, month, year, time, and time zone for the deadline. With any luck, this should be all you need to do to get all the voice files you need from your cast, and the only thing you'll have left to do is to put everything together and complete the project itself. But we don't live in a perfect world, and sometimes voice actors miss deadlines. Thanks to the voice talents of Ashley Lynn as the woman, and Cristian Spiteri as the man. Next time, we'll talk about enforcing deadlines and completing the project, what to do if voice actors miss deadlines, how to recast roles if you need to, and wrapping up production. If you have any questions about giving direction that I didn't cover, please leave your question in a comment below the video, and I'll do my best to answer what I can. If you missed any of the earlier parts of this tutorial, just click one of the links in the video or in the description to go back and watch them. Thank you for watching part 5, and I hope you stick around for the final video in this tutorial, part 6.